Hey, folks, it's Mark Arum. I hope you're enjoying the Mark Arum Show podcast. A reminder, you can hear this very radio show live Monday through Friday. We're live 6 to 8 p.m. Monday through Friday on 95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
We got you covered with traffic every 6 minutes. Kirk Mellish with the weather, latest on the hurricane. Keep it locked right here throughout the weekend, of course, for updates on hurricane coverage, traffic coverage, and Georgia Bulldog coverage. That's right. We kick things off tomorrow. Joining us on the show from Vegas, Nashville, it's Jay Black, WSB Radio Sports Director. How are you, Jay Bird?
I'm so excited. I'm so ready for football season.
Oh, I thought you were excited to be on the Mark Arum Show, but you're excited for football season.
Both. That's what comes with football season, is appearances on the Mark Arum Show, which also makes me happy.
Just to recap, tomorrow is the opening game of the season for our Georgia Bulldogs. The Dogs, of course, heard here on 95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk. When does our coverage begin tomorrow, Jay Bird?
We will begin at 3:30 in the afternoon with Bulldogs pregame show. That'll be followed up by the tailgate show with Neil Williamson and the gang at 4:30, and then we'll kick things off at 7:30. And new this year, by the way, we should remind you that you can now stream the games on WSBRadio.com and the WSB Radio app. So wherever you are, you can hear the game.
Fantastic. WSB Radio Sports Director Jay Black joining us from Nashville on the Mark Arum Show. Let's talk to the casual fan, Jay, that may have been, still wrapped up in the Brave season, hasn't really paid attention to the Dogs since the bowl game. Where does the club stand now, and what are we expecting out of this club this year?
Georgia ranks third in the country. They slip in there behind Clemson and Alabama, which is a fair place to be. Back is Jake Fromm. He's the undisputed leader of this team. He's got DeAndre Swift as a potential kind of dark horse Heisman candidate as his running back. The offensive line might be the best in the country. Defensively, they lose DeAndre Baker to the draft. DeAndre Walker, their best pass rusher. They have a lot of depth on defense, but none of it is really proven yet. There's a lot of talent. We just haven't seen it on the field.
So with the graduations on the defensive side of the ball, is this more of an offensive-minded Georgia Bulldog team, or is it still going to be kind of a balance on both sides of the ball?
Well, Kirby wants his defense to he's created this new metric called the havoc rate, where he wants more sacks, more pressure, more pass breakups, which I think every coach would want. But I just don't know what I have on the defense yet. I know what I have on offense, and I know that Jake Fromm is a stud. I know that DeAndre Swift is a stud, and I know that the offensive line is a stud. So that's what you can count on right now.
Jake Fromm, the last man standing under center after we've had some transfers. This is his team, right? This is his ship to guide to the glory land.
I asked Vince Dooley. I had a chance to talk to legendary Georgia coach Vince Dooley about the team and also the naming of the stadium coming up next week. And I also asked him what he thought about Jake Fromm, and he had something very profound to say.
I really think he's the best leader that I have ever seen, and particularly the best at an early age.
When Vince Dooley says you're the best at something, you must be.
He could say I was the best folder of napkins, I'd be very proud. But the best leader he's ever seen. Wow, that's high praise, Jay.
People just gravitate toward Jake Fromm. He runs that show, and he's a pretty good football player, too. So there's no dispute. There's no more controversy. He's the man, and I expect him to have a huge season.
WSB Radio Sports Director Jay Black joining us on the Mark Arum Show from Nashville. Bulldogs kick their season off tomorrow right here on your home of the Dogs. Coverage starts early at 3:30 p.m. Georgia historically has been known as running back U. Who will Jake Fromm be handing off to this year, and what can we expect from the backfield?
We got DeAndre Swift. He rushed for 1,000 yards last year. Incredibly dynamic. And he did that when he wasn't fully healthy last year. Coming up behind him now, Elijah Holyfield took his shot at the draft. That didn't work out. But there's so much talent back there, too. And the guy that everybody's been talking about is Zamir White, who was the number one running back in the class last year. The catch is he hasn't played a football game since he's torn both his ACLs.
Oof.
He did it his last game of high school in 2017, and then during fall camp in 2018, he tore the other one. But by all accounts, he is good to go. Kirby Smart says he'll be in the game plan. He'll probably be the number 3 running back right now behind Brian Harrion, who wasn't highly recruited, didn't have all the fancy stars, but every time that little guy gets the ball, he gets it done. So I'm intrigued to see what we get from Brian Harrion. James Cook is another highly touted back. He got some gadgets Paget plays last year. He's bulked up a little bit. He's electric. He'll be in the mix as well. So there's really 4 strong running backs, and then freshman Kenny McIntosh, who might also slip in there as well. So once again, it is a loaded backfield for the Dogs.
The Swift certainly took my breath away a number of times last season. Hopefully traffic's not taking your breath away on this getaway Labor Day weekend. All right, welcome back. Traffic updates again throughout the evening and the weekend. This is a busy travel weekend if you're heading to and fro on Labor Day weekend. Very busy tomorrow on the station. Bulldogs football is back. Our coverage starts at 3:30 p.m. Jay Black joining us from Nashville. Kickoff again at what time, Jay?
7:30 from Vanderbilt Stadium.
All right, so let's real quick, let's fly through the Bulldogs schedule this year. Starting off against Vandy, which is interesting, on the road against the SEC opponent, and then taking on Murray State at home on September 7th, September 14th, Arkansas State at home, and then the big marquee game on the schedule this year at home, September 21st against the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame. I don't want to look ahead of Murray State and Arkansas State, but that Notre Dame game sticks out, Jay Black.
One of the biggest, if not the biggest, non-conference home game Georgia's ever played. Notre Dame has never come here before. Ranked 9th in the country. Georgia's ranked 3rd. 8 o'clock kickoff, so it'll be under the lights on national television and here on the Georgia Bulldog Sports Network. It is, ever since Georgia won that game in South Bend 2 years ago, people have had this one circled. And even on the secondary market, it's the most expensive ticket in college football this season. The atmosphere there is going to be like anything I think we've ever seen at what will soon to be Dooley Field at Sanford Stadium.
We're hoping that Georgia is 3-0 going into that game. Notre Dame starts their schedule against Louisville on September 2nd, and then on September 14th, taking on New Mexico. Louisville's going to be a tough opponent, I think, for Notre Dame, but maybe this is going to be 2-0 Notre Dame versus 3-0 Georgia when they come to between the hedges.
Louisville's pretty awful. They're still kind of recovering. New Mexico at Notre Dame Stadium just seems weird.
That is weird.
But the Fighting Irish still a pretty good football team. It didn't work out so well for them in the college football playoff, but Brian Kelly still brings back a lot of talent, got a solid situation at quarterback now. Their offensive line's always fantastic. It's going to be a great football game under the lights.
I can't wait. Jay Black joining us from Nashville on the Mark Arum Show, going through the Bulldogs schedule. Again, they kick off tomorrow against Vandy in Vandy. Coverage starts here at your home of the Dogs at 3:30 p.m. All right, so after the big Notre Dame game, they are at Tennessee, then home versus South Carolina, home versus Kentucky, and then the neutral cocktail party on the 2nd of November, taking on Florida, then taking on Missouri at home, traveling on the road to Auburn. Saturday, the 23rd of November, Texas A&M comes between the hedges, and they close out the schedule on the 30th of November against Georgia Tech in Midtown Atlanta. This is a pretty tough schedule, Jay Black. I mean, Florida's always going to be nasty. Auburn, Texas A&M. This isn't a cakewalk schedule for the Bulldogs this year. No,
4 teams ranked in the top 16, and Georgia has, to be fair, kind of had it easy in the schedule draw the last couple of years. Maybe not necessarily easy, but certainly manageable. They'll likely be favored in every game this season, but obviously the Notre Dame one is a problem. Florida, you couldn't really learn anything last week in that kind of mess against Miami, but they do have a very good defense. Missouri's not going to be bad. People are kind of sleeping on Auburn a little bit. You've got to go there. That's generally when Gus Malzahn kind of gets things going, when people aren't paying attention to him. And Texas A&M coming to Athens for the first time since the early 80s to close out the SEC schedule under second-year coach Jimbo Fisher. So there's not a lot of places to let your guard down after you get through Murray State and the Red Wolves of Arkansas State.
All right, just again, if folks are joining us, Bulldog football kicks off tomorrow in your home of the Dogs. The Dogs on the road taking on Vanderbilt, an SEC opponent, to open the season. Our coverage starts and ends when, Jay Black?
Starts at 3:30, ends about 2 o'clock in the morning. We'll be on the radio, and for the first time, we'll be on the internet as well on WSBRadio.com and the WSB Radio app. But we'll kick it off at 7:30 in Nashville at Vanderbilt Stadium.
Excellent. And Jay Black usually tweets throughout the Bulldogs game, so that's always, if it's a nice addendum to listening on the radio, getting live tweets from Jay Black. Where can we find your tweets tomorrow?
You get the same nuggets I pass off to Scott Howard and his bald head at JBlack2 and at WSB Radio Sports.
Excellent. Both good accounts. My account, I'll probably be tweeting during the game as well. You can follow
give
me.
us the color.
Yeah, on Twitter, at Mark Arum. Jay Black joining us in Nashville. Hang tight. It's the Friday edition of The Mark Arum Show.
All right, welcome back. Friday edition of the Mark Arum Show. I'm in studio. Jay Black is on the road. He is in Nashville because the Dawgs are taking on Vanderbilt tomorrow. Big favorites are the Bulldogs. Jay, what's Vegas thinking about this matchup?
22 points, which is obviously not small. Vanderbilt's got some talent. They've got 3 players who on offense who are really NFL caliber talent, but Georgia should be able to pull away here.
Jay Black, I did the math. That's 3 touchdowns and a point favorite for Georgia. 22
and depending
points.
on where you go, might be a half a point.
Yes, all right. Not that we endorse laying any money on or against the Dawgs, but it's just nice to know what Vegas thinks about this team and what they think about the Vanderbilt team. Let's find out what Scott Howard, the voice of the Dawgs, thinks about this Georgia Bulldog team. He's going to join us coming after news, weather, and traffic. Hang tight. It's the Friday edition of The Mark Arum Show.
Welcome back. Friday edition of the Mark Arum Show on this Labor Day weekend. Traffic stinks. Weather stinks heading to Florida. Keep it locked throughout the weekend for the best traffic coverage and Kirk Mellish's update on the hurricane. It's a big Bulldogs weekend as well. Joining us from Nashville, WSB Radio Sports Director Jay Black. And now on the line, longtime friend of the Mark Arum Show. Not calling him my friend, but he's a friend of the show, the voice of the Bulldogs, Scott Howard. How are you, Scott?
I don't think I'm either, actually. How you like that, buddy?
Long-time contributor to the Mark Arum Show. This has got to be like, the night before the first day of school for you, right? You're getting pumped for this season.
Yeah, we're taking pictures, and I got new clothes, and I got pencils and paper. I'm ready to go. I got glue. I got glue sticks if you need some.
So
you know what I mean?
So I've been a Bulldogs fan since '96, which is probably one of the younger Bulldogs fans listening because, I was from Connecticut and I didn't know anything about college football in the South. But I became a Bulldog fan under the tutelage of you and Larry Munson. So by default, I'm an overly pessimistic Bulldog fan, Scott. But for some reason, I'm wildly pessimistic about this year's squad. Should I feel good about this year's team?
Yeah, I think so. I think you're in the same boat with a lot of other Georgia folks. This is the year that a lot of people have been pointing to when after Kirby's first season, when the Bulldogs started stockpiling terrific recruits. They built class on top of class over the last few years, and maybe this is the year that all of that comes to fruition. This is a very deep team. It's a very talented team for the most part, just about at every position. So, yeah, there's a lot of reason to be. You said pessimistic, though, didn't you? Or do you mean optimistic?
I'm usually pessimistic, but this year I am optimistic.
Okay, that's where I'm going with all of this. All of a sudden it dawned on me. It's like, wait a minute, did he say pessimistic?
No, every other year
I think it's going to be a very positive year.
Jake Fromm under center. We've got to feel comfortable about that. You look around the quarterback landscape of the SEC. We got a guy that's been under center, been under the pressure, and has performed. The true leader of this team now, Scott Howard, no?
Definitely. Yeah, he's the leader on the field. He didn't have to fight off a lot of competition to earn that spot this year like he did the last 2 years, and he won the job outright and sent a couple of other quality quarterbacks packing to other schools where they are now
exactly
the number one quarterback. So that kind of shows you the ability of Jake Fromm and what kind of a player and what kind of a person he is that, he beat the competition handily, fair and square, and now he's entrenched in that leadership spot at quarterback. And, as you said, is kind of the face and the leader of the team.
Scott Howard, the voice of the Dogs, joining us on your home of the Dogs, 95.5 WSB on the Mark Arum Show. Our coverage starts tomorrow at 3:30. Kickoff against Vanderbilt, opening the season with an SEC game, Scott, as opposed to an out-of-conference game. What do we read into that? Is this going to be a good first true test for the team?
I think so. It's a conference game, so regardless of the opponent, I mean, it's vitally important. So I think the guys are a little more open. The focus is a little more clear when you open in this situation. Opening on the road against a conference team, that's kind of a rarity for Georgia. We haven't done this since 1994, I think, when we opened up at South Carolina over in Columbia back then. So it's been a while since you're in this situation, opening up with a key conference game, a divisional game, and it's all on the road. So there's a lot on the line for this game on Saturday.
Jay, we got about a minute left with Scott Howard. Pick his brain as WSB Sports Director.
You have been to a lot of the close scrimmages for the team, and there's a lot of mystery surrounding the inexperience at wide receiver. Who is the guy that Bulldog fans might not know now, but they will know in December?
Here's top secret inside information. Georgia has moved Cade Mays to wide receiver.
Okay.
A little
known
fact. He's playing every position on the offensive line, and they said, why not? Let's stick him out as a wideout.
It's a Mark Arum Show exclusive right there, folks.
Breaking news sounder.
A name that Georgia fans will know. Well, Jay, there's a lot of names. I don't know which one's going to emerge. I'll tell you who I like, though. I like Kearis Jackson. And I don't even know if he's going to be a starter tomorrow, but he's a slot receiver. In the scrimmages, I thought he looked very good. But I think you're going to recognize a lot of those names as the season goes along, because I think that's how that receiving core is going to be playing. There's going to be a lot of different guys on the field, and I think you're going to learn those names pretty quickly if you're a Georgia fan. I think there's talented group there, and I don't think they're going to let anybody down, to be honest with you.
Scott, we've missed your voice through the summer. I'm very excited to hear you call the game tomorrow, as is the rest of Bulldog Nation. Again, our coverage starts at 3:30 p.m. here on your home of the Dogs. Bring us back a W from Vandy, my friend.
Well, you have my number. You can call me anytime during the summer if you just want to hear me speak.
A longtime acquaintance of the show, not friend of the show, Scott Howard, voice of the Dogs. Appreciate it, buddy.
All right, guys. So long, everybody. Go Dogs.
On this getaway Labor Day weekend. All right, thanks to Scott Howard for joining us here on your home of the Dogs. Always love hearing Scott Howard's voice, Jay Black. Not that your voice isn't lovely and very broadcaster-ish, but I hear Scott, I hear Eric Zier, and I'm like, oh yeah, it's time to go. It's Bulldog season.
They are the soundtrack of the fall. Whatever kind of soundtrack that is, they've got it.
And again, I'm optimistic for the first time in my Bulldog fan career, Jay, that I just feel really good about this. I like the way the schedule lays out. I like the SEC East. I think we have no real competitors there. And who knows what's going to come out of the West? We might see an upset. We might not even have to play Alabama in the championship game. I don't know. I'm very, very positive about this season.
You want me to give you some reasons you should back it off a little bit? You want to make you pessimistic?
Yes,
okay.
Please.
If Jake Fromm gets hurt, there's not much there behind him. Even a true scholarship quarterback is there behind him. Stetson Bennett used to be a walk-on at Georgia, transferred to JUCO. He came back. He got a scholarship. And then after that, it's just walk-on. So that'll make you feel, maybe that'll make you feel a little more uneasy.
Tarashinsky have any eligibility left or no?
Do what now?
Tarashinsky have any eligibility left? No.
We haven't gotten to Joe Tarashinsky the fifth yet, so we're stuck with Stetson Bennett the fourth.
That's coming down the pipeline, though. We'll get that soon. I don't know. That is humbling. That's a little worrisome. Hopefully the big dogs on the front line can keep Jake Fromm healthy and happy this year. I like the Swift. Oh, real quick, Jay. Outside deep threats from the wideout position. What are we looking at there?
It's extremely inexperienced. This is another reason why you might want to be pessimistic. Only 2 guys in the receiver core have caught passes from Jake Fromm in a football game.
Wow.
Tyler Simmons leads the way with 9. So everybody else is extremely inexperienced, or you've got a transfer like Lawrence Cager. However, They look great getting off the bus. They've got 3 guys that are 6'5" or taller, another freshman, George Pickens, who's 6'3". You haven't really seen that with Georgia with a lot of big receivers. This group is really, really big. They've got a couple of fast, twitchy guys there in the slot, too, so there's a lot of talent there. Just haven't seen them do it yet.
Jay Black looks great getting off the bus as well. He joins us from Nashville on the Mark Arum Show. We'll be right back with Jay in Nashville on your home of the Dogs. This is the Mark Arum Show on 95.5 WSB.
All right, welcome back. Friday edition of the Mark Arum Show. I'm going to bounce at the top of the hour, but I'm going to turn over the reins to Jay Black, who is our WSB Radio Sports Director, the aforementioned scribe of the Dawgs on WSBRadio.com. And Mark McKay is going to come in and take my seat because I've got travel plans, Jay. I got to get out of here and see my folks. You understand that, right?
I understand. So we're happy to take the wheel for you for another hour.
Yes, so Jay Black and Smilin will take your calls at 404-872-0750, 1-800-WSB-TALK. If you have any questions about the Georgia Bulldogs. And Mark McKay, by the way, folks that don't know, he spent 28 and a half years covering sports for CNN. So Mark McKay, well-versed in the sports world. He's going to sit in for me in the second hour. And Jay Black, of course, available to answer all your calls. He is in Nashville with the team, the coaching staff, the broadcast crew, and enjoying some fine Southern cuisine, I heard last night, Jay Black.
Yeah, food was good down here. Never been to a family-style serving restaurant before where you sit at the same table with a bunch of people and pass it around like you're at an old Southern dinner. But it was very good.
I hope you had good table manners.
Oh, yes.
What were the entrees and the sides that were served last night?
Fried chicken, of course.
Yes.
Had some roast beef and some meatloaf. So that was the entree. Sides were the standard stuff: green beans, mashed potatoes. Some sweet potatoes mixed in there. Dessert was chocolate eclair, which was fantastic.
Dag nabbit. All right, now I'm starving. I'm going to now go get some dinner. Coming up after news, weather, and traffic, our Bulldog coverage continues. Sports Director Jay Black in Nashville. Mark McKay will be live in the studio. Hang tight. Having fun on a Bulldog Friday. This is the Mark Arum Show on 95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.